What's the question?
Yeah. Craig Conway, what time is it?
It's feeding time at the fucking zoo!
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Craig Conway!
Another must follow.
Yeah, I suppose the whole pack of wolves. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage for the 20th anniversary of Dog Soldiers, Mr. Neil Marshall, Mr. Darren Morfitt, and Mr. Sean Pertwee. Mr. Sean Pertwee!
Son, where are you? I'm in the carsy. I'm in the carsy.
He's in the carsy.
Mr. Sean Pertwee!
Come on, son.
Let's get some microphones.
Hello.
Hello? How the devil are we?
Watson.
Guys, I don't think that was a big enough round of applause. Celebrating the 20th anniversary of one of the most iconic British horror movies ever made, the cast and crew of Dog Soldiers! Friggin' hell. How are we, boys? Are we okay?
We are fucking very happy to be here.
Very happy to have you, aren't we? It's fucking mint, this, isn't it?
It took us like 4 years to make this happen.
This is the 20th anniversary of Dog Soldiers, right? So 20 years ago, or 21 years ago, whenever you were making it, did you think we'd all be celebrating it in such a big style? Because this year you've had the DVD come back out and everything.
No, I mean, who would have thought it, you know, which made this little werewolf movie 20 years ago, and then people just fell in love with it, and you know, it just keeps on going and going and going. It just keeps on rocking. So it's amazing. I love it.
It's not just a cult classic, it's a bona fide British horror classic.
We made it for you guys. You know, we made it for the fans.
And look at the turnout.
And we've, obviously we've got rabid fans in the audience. Everyone who's got a question throughout the panel, throw your hands up. We're going to turn it over to the audience quite quickly. We've got Tim and Mr. Tony Earnshaw with the roving mic, so if you do have a question, throw them up and they'll come and get you.
I've got a question for Darren. Where did your famous line come from?
I hope I give you the shits.
Yeah.
You fucking wimp.
I hope I give you the shits was the beautiful pen work of Neil Marshall. So I was just fortunate enough to have some of those cool lines. So thank you very much, Neil.
You're welcome. Anytime.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty, the serious stuff. Where did the kernel of the idea for Dog Soldiers come from?
I first came up with the idea, I just came up with the concept of soldiers versus werewolves. And this was about 1995. And then spent the next 6 years writing the script over and over again, getting it better and better and better, at the same time trying to find the money to make the film. In a time when they weren't really making horror films in the UK. You know, we used to take it to possible producers in the UK, and we'd always just get the answer, it's not our cup of tea. We don't do that kind of thing here. It's like, if it's not a romantic comedy or a Jane Austen novel, we're not interested. And so we got turned down by a lot of places. But slowly and surely it grew awareness. We got Chris Figg, the producer of Hellboy, on board. Not Hellboy, Hellraiser on board. And because he had not many people actually produced horror films in the UK either. So getting him on board was great. Shawnee came on board quite early on, before we had any money, and stuck around. And when we did have the money, he was there. And then everybody else came on board afterwards. It was just quite a journey. 6 years to get it made.
Well, what made you join so early? Was it, did you see the script and just think, it's a bit of me, that?
Yeah, it was meeting Neil and Keith Bell, who's one of the producers. And I'm an old fart, and the thing was, to be considered by young up-and-coming directors is nothing but like an honour, and it's very flattering. And I made a sort of definite choice when I came back from the States to actually, I like doing independent small movies. Huge fan of horror films. I met Neil, and the thing that got me was the dialogue was just so on point. You know, I pretended to be in the military loads of times, but just the dialogue, the characterization, the characters were so on point. None of them felt like cannon fodder. And then when we actually got closer to shooting it, and shooting it chronologically, which they used to do back in the day in the Pinewood horror films, the Hammer House, it was it just was one of the most joyful things that I've ever done, really. It really was one of the most extraordinary experiences. It was a long time coming, 5 years, and 12 drafts later, and I think that's why it's so tight, yeah. Yeah. That's not a bigger trailer than you.
Very loyal, very loyal. And we always said, like, right from the start, that it's a soldier movie with werewolves. It's not a werewolf movie with soldiers. Because I wanted to make sure that the soldiers were authentic, that it was, you know, that we had a good depiction, honest depiction of British squaddies and their trench humour, and then throw in werewolves into the mix.
And that's the thing Sean said, they don't feel like cannon fodder, and they don't. And it hurts when they start getting bumped off one by one.
Yeah.
And the only other film I can think where people die like that made me feel the same way was Predator. And you give a shit about the characters, and it hurts when they're gone. Speaking about people getting killed off in the movie, Mr. Conway, you didn't make it past the opening scene.
Yeah, I know, but I like camping, so it was a good opportunity, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's quite nice, isn't it, when you get invited to go and get your guts ripped out. Not that you saw it, but no, it was quite a mad one for me, because I was in a rehearsal in a theatre show, and I had to pretend that I was ill so I could get over and shoot those scenes. So the director was like, well, "You all right?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'll be back. I just need a couple of days off." Flew out, got.
No, it was another thing of like last minute thing is that I won't lie, there was somebody else going to play that role originally, who shall remain nameless, who bottled, and we were left like a day before filming, of like, we need somebody for the role, and I was like, who's fucking awesome and is loyal? Craig.
Yeah.
Got on the phone to him. An hour later, he was at the airport. And on a plane.
The phone to him, I'm not feeling good. Just
yeah. So yeah, we got him over like with hours to spare, and killed him.
you did.
So Craig, serious question. Your character, is he still running around the Highlands? Because we never seen him die.
Well, you never saw him die, did you? So, you know, he's still out there. He's probably just walking around the woods, you know, trying to find out where to go next.
Trying to find some sausages.
Yeah, bit like my career.
There's a fantastic bit of dark humour when the pants are getting unzipped, and then the tent zip goes up, and it's just, So the whole movie is full of these like little moments, and it just adds up to this perfect blend. And it's obviously, you know, we absolutely love it, and we love you guys. You've been suspiciously quiet, Morfitt. Microphone.
Talking to the mic.
Oh, what do you want me to say?
No, just gonna. Just lift it up.
Ask me a question.
I will ask you. Yeah, I will. Yeah. What were your experiences on set like? Let's talk about some of your favourite moments from making the movie. What's it obviously working with these boys?
Yeah, the fact that we shot it chronologically, and that when people started to die off, we'd got to know each other so well, and like Sean was saying, it was a proper band of brothers. You know, we were proper.
Yeah, no, they were literally taken off set. It was actually heartbreaking because when one person, when they were literally, because it was a low-budget movie, they were taken from the set to the airport and flown off. And it ended up with me and Coop in a cupboard. And then I got sort of like PTSD. I missed him. I was ringing him up when he was on his own doing the last scene in the cellar. And I was ringing up every 5 minutes. It was a really weird thing. It was like a real sense of loss throughout the whole thing.
It's a little bit like Big
also,
Brother.
like, these guys spent, like we all did, like after filming every day, we just were in the pub for the next 5 hours every night. And it's just we were all young and could take it back then, but like, you know, we were all living on like 3 hours sleep. But by the end of it, I swear to God that like, yeah, these guys would have fought and died for each other, man. It was just like we created this real unit. And the thing with Morfitt that he's not going to mention, but like, it was always the case that there was going to be a one-on-one fight between Spoon and a werewolf. But because Darren boxes, he's the one who was like, what if I boxed, you know? And it was like, let's give it a go. And it was like so fresh. It was like, I've never seen anything like that before. And he was ducking and dodging, like, you know, stinging like a bee and getting twatted by a werewolf.
Well, that was so cool because you can say to Neil, you know, I know it's written like this, but could we try like this? And he was like, yeah, just like cool to try everything. So it's just awesome, man. I wish we were still there doing it.
So do we.
Well, what was it like the first time you saw the werewolves? Because the werewolves and dog soldiers are striking and they look amazing.
Absolutely hilarious. I'm seeing sort of 2 9-foot ballet dancers in rubber walking towards you through the woods. No, it's a really tough job with those guys, and they absolutely nailed it by the end. But to begin with, it wasn't terrifying. I tell you, but I tell you, the moment that I really realised how terrifying they actually really were was when I was sort of lying in bed, when I sort of come to after being operated on, and one of those guys is looming over me, and that was you know, they're 9 foot, man. Yeah. You know,
and they do look like real wolves. They're not like, obviously in some werewolf movie it's just a dude with a hairy face, but they're like friggin' terrifying. Yeah.
Well, the intention was to make them kind of elegant, that they're sort of tall and slick and they were going to be elegant. That's why we hired these dancers to put in the suits. But once you take a dancer and you put them on stilts and then make them blind, because they're like literally like they couldn't see in the suits at all, then that elegance went right out the window and they were just staggering around like a bunch of drunks. It was hilarious.
They're not quite as graceful. Has anybody got any questions for the guys? Throw your hands up. Tony and Tim will come and find you. There's a gentleman in for Tim. Oh, you get, yeah. Yes, sir, with the burning t-shirt.
Hi there. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, hi there. So when's the sequel coming, guys?
We're saving that till the last question. Next question. You've just stole me spotlight.
There's a gentleman there. Oh, no, there isn't.
Hi, question for Sean Pertwee. There's so many good lines in the film. I was just wondering, what was your favourite?
I don't know. To be honest, there's so many. There is no spoon. I'm in the Kazi.
Was sausages in the script?
Sausages was up there.
Sausages, but that was his improv.
Yeah, but there was so many from Neil. There really are. There's so many of them. There really are. I mean, it's my guts are out. I mean, I could go on really.
That's on your t-shirt. My guts are out.
My guts go
Yeah. Speaking of sausages, Janine Pipe, stand up.
Hey.
Janine is the author of Sausages, the Making of Dog Soldiers, which you can buy right now on Amazon. It's the definitive making of with contributions from all these guys. So big love to Janine and thank you for everything, really. Can Janine have a big round of applause?
Thank you, Janine.
Woohoo! And fair play to Janine. She stayed with us last night when we were having a drink and she was sober, so she's a hero. Next question.
I would say with the designs, it would have taken a while to actually find a good way. Like, what was the main idea between the design? Like, did you look at anything beforehand? Because you can say you can make it look elegant, but...
Yeah, no, well, it was based on a design, a rough sketch that actually a sound recordist that I knew, who happened to be a great artist, did this first sketch of the werewolf. And it was very different from anything else that I'd seen on a movie before. I always say that, like, you know, I always thought that, you know, American Werewolf had the best transformation sequence, but The Howling had the best werewolves, because I think werewolves should walk around on 2 legs and not 4. And so I always wanted to take the best bits of all sorts of things and I put them in to create my own kind of version of it. And then another guy called Dave Bunnywell, who worked for Bob Keane's company, he revamped the sketch and came up with ultimately the final look. But it was always the intention that I wanted to do them practically, so it was always going to be like, you know, guys in suits, because I didn't want to do CG.
Tony Earnshaw has a question.
Hello.
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 The first time I watched the film, the cow scene made me jump, really jump. How was it for you?
Yeah, no, it really made me jump as well, actually. It actually did. It terrified us. There was a bit they cut out, actually, where we actually get our knives out and we're going to make steak and we're going to have a steak dinner. It didn't make it in the final cut, did it?
No, we just start carving it up into steaks and cooking it on the fire. And you're like, bloody savages. Yeah, I mean, when you actually, what you can't see is the crane hanging above the set and the two guys holding onto this big cow, preparing it to drop it on the campfire. But I don't know, it always worked with audiences anyway. Yeah. Who was expecting that, eh?
That's the, just after the Eddie Oswald speech, isn't it? And
yes.
You really draw them in, and then bang.
Yeah.
Absolute
Now,
brilliant.
what we want to know is what's the punchline to Darren's joke?
Yeah.
Still waiting, 20 years later.
The end of the sequel.
Yeah. Maybe.
Next question is down at the front from...
You know what? You know that big speech that you were on about there that Sean does where he's round the campfire? That, we were really, really listening. I was so impressed with that because it was a long speech and we just got there and stuff, and you smashed that, you know. I really was impressed with the way you did that. It's a nice one, Sean.
We sort of, I bet good money that it wasn't going to make it into the final edit, and again, this goes down to Neil's genius in writing and everything like that, to have the courage to actually have a 4-minute speech, or however long it is, in a movie, which is a scary campfire story. I don't think it's ever really been done before. It's
amazing as well.
Well, here's a little story for you. So, a couple of weeks ago, I was at the Sitges Horror Festival.
Yeah.
And I bumped into Robert Englund there. And I haven't seen Robert Englund for 20 years, since last time I saw him was in Edinburgh for Dog Soldiers then. And he was there. So I walk up to him for the first time in 20 years just to say hello. First thing he says to me is he says, I still love that campfire speech. Sean Pertwee knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing he said to me.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
It's just iconic, isn't it? Sorry, Annie Wilkes.
I've got a question for Craig.
Hello.
Don't hate me. So you handed the scripts for Dog Soldiers, The Descent, and Doomsday at the same time. Which one do you pick?
Good question.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Well, if I was Craig, I know which one I'd pick.
Yep.
Yeah, what would that be?
Doomsday.
Yeah, it would have to be Doomsday.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was good, thanks. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Soul, man. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Oh man, we love it. I mean, we love it. We love it so much. And you guys are basically like the Neil Marshall repertory company because you've worked.
It's trying to get them between jobs and things like that.
Yeah. Because you've had these.
Trying to get Darren to show up. That's always the hard one.
What's this?
And then trying to find new ways that I can butcher Sean.
Yeah.
Kill me, yeah.
Oh, there's a question in the. Oh, sorry. Hello. Oh, somebody Henshaw. Hello.
Hi, question for Sean. Sean, I read somewhere that when you filmed the scene on the bed, was the alcohol real?
We actually experimented with Hennessy brandy. And it was a controlled environment. Yes, all the stories are true. Yeah, we did drink some brandy, and I did break my nose, or I didn't break my nose. We thought because it was going so well, and I spoke to Neil about it, and I sort of said, look, he's supposed to have, taken about 15 packets of morphine, drunk a bottle of scotch. He should be fairly sort of munted, and shooting was going really quite well at that stage. So I decided to ruin it.
So let's mix it up a bit. Yeah. No, it was the alcohol in the bottle in the scene was not real. The alcohol in Sean was.
It was very interesting seeing it on the premiere, actually, on the first night, because I didn't remember any of it. It's very good.
Hello. Hiya.
Oh, say it again. I missed that.
Did you really enjoy filming it? You look like you had so much fun.
I think I can speak for everyone. I'm sure they'll say anyway. It was an absolute blast. I mean, it was it was hard work sometimes, and it was pretty cold and rainy and muddy and stuff like that. But it was a blast. I mean, it was just like everybody got to play soldiers and blow shit up and fight werewolves all day. It was awesome.
Yeah, jobs like that don't come along very often, man. It was a dream job, and a dream cast, and a dream crew, and it just all came together nicely.
I know, it wasn't just what we were doing what was fun. It was the fact that we were just like all got along and like we all became like lifelong friends from it. So
I know, yeah. 20 years later, we're still.
It is, that part's so true. We see each other in the hotel bar last night and it's like, fucking hey! It's full on.
It's just like yesterday.
Never missed a beat. Oh, hello in the front row.
Hi guys, my name's Wayne. I was talking to a few of you before about the special effects from Bob Keane with image animation. I've been involved with Bob and in image animation. I've done special effects myself. When all the werewolves and the special effects were going on with Bob's team, were there any funny times where things went wrong with the monsters and the effects?
Things were going wrong every day with constantly falling over or stuff like that. I can't think of anything specific that went wrong. I remember Bob's chair collapsing one day. Collapsed underneath him one day, but that wasn't a monster effect.
Did the house explode first time?
No, the house. The house is miniature at the end, and the first attempt to blow it up failed. So then we just put twice as many explosives in and then blew the living shit out of it, and it looked great. But it's testament to the brilliance of practical effects and miniatures, and stands the test of time.
And speaking of effects and horror and monsters, I'm pretty sure we've got a trailer for your latest film, The Lair.
Ooh.
If we can play that. Has anyone seen? Neil's got a new movie coming out called The Lair. Do we know this? So if we can play the trailer, that would be amazing. All right. What's going on with The Lair? When are we going to get to see that?
So that's coming out in January.
Amazing.
In the UK, yeah. Comes out in the States next week.
Fantastic.
And very excited. Huh? No, it's had to spend last night. Anyway, missed it. No. So looking forward to sharing that with everybody.
Very excited to see that.
Tony.
Boys in the back here.
Yep.
Hi. First of all, I just wanted to say this film really shaped my childhood. I probably watched it way below the age. And my sister and I, every time one of us farts, it's short controlled bursts.
Short controlled bursts! We love that!
All the time. So really just thank you so much for that. But one of the main reasons why it stuck is my dad was in the TA and he said all the army scenes were just so familiar to
Yay.
him. And it was hugely, hugely fun. And I don't know much about you guys personally because I don't know you personally, but does any of you have an army background? Because there's a lot of that in your films and it just seems so real. My dad really loved it and I'd love to know how.
Well, for me, it comes from my kind of family background that my granddad fought in the Battle of the Somme, and then my dad was in the army. He was in the occupation of Austria just after World War II. So I grew up with all that kind of trench humor, that kind of gallows military banter, and when I did this movie, I really wanted to do justice to the soldiers. So I did a lot of research and talked to a lot of them and stuff like that. And I mean, one of the biggest sort of moments of pride for me was hearing that the British squaddies out in Iraq were like watching Dog Soldiers on a loop. Like it was the most watched movie by the troops out there, and I was like, that really made it worthwhile. So yeah.
It really is.
Big respect.
Thank you very much.
We've got last question over there with Tim.
Hi there. So my question is really, I mean, I'm a massive werewolf horror fan and I love anything to do with werewolves. And I mean, I'd argue that the werewolves in this film are visually so different from any other werewolf films I've seen, which is incredible. It's actually my girlfriend's worst nightmare is these werewolves. But do any of you guys know what happened to the actual costumes of the werewolves? Where are they now, sort of thing?
I don't know.
Well, I'm guessing that there'd be one in sort of Bob Keane's warehouse or something like that. I know that one of the producers has one in the States, but beyond that, I have no idea. Actually, no, I have a head. I've got one of the werewolf heads, one of the stunt heads. I've had it mounted like a trophy on my wall for years.
That's amazing.
Where do you live?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Neil? Neil's got one last question.
One last question.
And then after the last question, we're going to take a group photo with the guys on the stage. So if you guys all cheer like mad when we do that, if that's okay.
I like your shining t-shirt.
No, I just got to ask you all a question. Would you like to see a Dog Soldiers 2 if we were to make it?
I think you need to ask that again.
I'll take that as a yes. Well, no promises. No promises. I want to send this to the producers and say, look, man, for fuck's sake, get on with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody, please clap like crazy.
Thank you,
Dog Soldiers.
Thank you.